Go, Fritz.
The Bears are who we thought they were.
The Bears. The Bears.
I am the great Cornholio.
We'll see what happens.
The playoffs?
See, Sean McDonough, Jay Billis. Goats!
Can you play a song? Something cool. Put my mic on!
I'm calling both games.
Oh, baby!
Are you serious? Goes down the field for Smith. Oh, he got it!
Seattle. We're getting ready for Cincinnati.
Other news with Maryland basketball just came out yesterday. James Graham III will transfer from Maryland, and everyone who's paid attention to Maryland basketball or has kind of watched games and read the news and read the headlines and all that kind of stuff, you kind of knew this was coming. Like, you kind of expected this sooner or later. And see, I knew this was coming, and like almost from the beginning of the season, because last year he came out early from high school, and then he never played. And I thought, oh boy, anytime guys don't play and they kind of have a lot, high star or whatever, they don't play, they probably transfer, right? And then something happened this year where he complained about playing time and he got suspended for violating team rules, and this was just the perfect storm. So he was going to transfer sooner or later, and I didn't think it was going to be this soon, but it felt like as time went on and he just kept not playing. Like, I think he played one game this season for Maryland. As time went on and he continued to not play, I was like, okay, the more and more games that he doesn't play, the closer and closer we are to him putting his name in the transfer portal. So, I always try to see both sides. And I've said this before. And I understand Graham being upset about the playing time. He came out of high school early to join the team. But at the same time, nobody forced him to do that, right? And the other thing is he must not have handled it correctly, right, when he was upset about it. Or, when he went to talk to Turgeon or whoever about it. He must not have handled it appropriately. Because if he did, he probably wouldn't have been suspended, right? He was suspended for violating team rules right after the whole thing with playing time came out. So, I don't know what else is. I don't know the behind the scenes. I don't know what happened with him. I'm not going to take any one side here, but if he violated the team rules, I get the suspension, right? I mean, you got to do what you got to do. Rules are rules. And again, he probably didn't handle himself appropriately, because then he was handed out the suspension, right? What else could you attribute the suspension to? If A plus B equals C, then C minus B must equal A, right? So, after all that, though, who wouldn't transfer is my point. Not everybody, but most people expected this to happen. And that leads me with a few questions. Was it an attitude issue that why he didn't play? Was it he didn't try hard in practice? Did he not take things seriously? Like, is his skill not there? Is he not as skilled as we thought, or like, what's going on, right? Why didn't he ever really get a shot? Like, it seemed like he never got a chance. And especially last year when Maryland didn't have any depth, and they truly didn't have any depth. I think I saw him very rarely. And I think he came out of college early in 2019. 2019-20 season when they won the Big Ten championship. Yeah, because he came in the middle of the year, around December, and then he only came in when the walk-ons came. Which I get, he's still getting used to the program. But then last year he still didn't play a lot, and then this year he didn't play a lot. So what's going on? Something's going on, and I don't know what it is. And this guy Graham entered the transfer portal, and it made me think about how, as I mentioned in the last segment, a lot, college basketball is all about the transfer portal in the past couple of years, right? However, looking at Maryland, there's been a common theme over the past few years, even before last year and the year before, or whatever, since 2016-17 is what I'm getting at. The past 5 or 6 years. And, as I said, I sensed a common theme, which I'm going to touch on very soon. And what usually happens with anything, right? Not just this not just what I'm about to say here, but anything. Whenever there's a common theme, over a long period of time, and it's a common occurrence, there's usually a bigger thing going on. And again, I understand college basketball has been all about the transfer portal in the past 2 years, but listen to this list of players that have transferred from Maryland since 2016-17 season, and the reason why. Sorrell Smith Jr. transferred from Maryland to East Tennessee State, then to USF. And usually when guys bounce around a lot, whether it's MLB, NBA, NHL, NFL, college basketball, whatever it is, when guys bounce around a lot, there's usually something bigger going on other than his reason for leaving. Usually it's an attitude thing, but Sorrell Smith Jr., when he was at Maryland, he didn't seem like he had an attitude, so I don't know what's going on there. I think the transfer from East Tennessee State to USF could just be contributed to the 1 year COVID transfer thing. I don't know. But his big thing as the reason why he transferred to East Tennessee State was playing time, which I get, it was his, but I get it, but I don't get it. It was his freshman year. He was just proving himself. He played pretty well, I thought, and I thought he was going to get elevated minutes in the future. But he really didn't give a chance to get those minutes. You know what I mean? Like, you can't come in freshman year and expect to play all the time right away. And I thought he played a fair amount of minutes for his freshman year. Second player, Aquan Smart, transferred to Florida International. He mentioned that he wanted to be closer to home, but also it was also, insider sources also said it was mostly because of playing time, which I do get. But again, he was a freshman. You still got to prove yourself a little bit. But we're gonna go back to this in a little bit. 3, Chol Marial, Oregon State. He transferred to Oregon State after a year or two at Maryland. I believe it was playing time. I don't know for sure. I have yet to see or hear anything. I have yet to see him play at Oregon State. I think he's injured, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how he's playing there. Aquan Smart, Sorrell Smith Jr., I'm not really sure how they're playing right now. I don't imagine they're doing awesome because I haven't heard anything. Mikhail Mitchell transferred from Maryland to Rhode Island. Everybody knows the issue there. His twin, Mikhail Mitchell, also transferred to Rhode Island. They both cited playing time, and there was something with their mother was complaining at Turgeon about the playing time, and then the twins got involved, and it was just a big mess. It was just time for everybody to move on. The both of them have been mediocre at best at Rhode Island. Daryl Morcell transferred to Marquette. The reason why he transferred, who knows? But he's tearing it up at Marquette. He's playing better than I've ever seen him play. Jairus Hamilton transferred from Boston College to Maryland and then transferred to Western Kentucky. The reason why, who knows? I don't know. But he's just another guy that transferred. 8, Jalen Brantley transferred to UMass a few years back. I'm not, he never came out and said it directly, but I know that Cliff Warren was a former assistant coach. He went to UMass, and then Brantley followed him later after. I believe Brantley wanted to be closer to home, and then it turns out he never played a game at UMass because he actually wound up having a heart issue that got diagnosed up there, so he never played because of the heart issue. So, I think that has something to do with it. It wasn't playing time. I don't think it was just he wanted to be closer to home because he's from Springfield, Massachusetts, I believe. So, I get that with the heart. Joshua Tomaic transferred to San Diego State. He never played. He didn't play a lot, so I believe it was playing time, and he did pretty decent with San Diego State. Ricky Lindo Jr. transferred to George Washington. I also believe he transferred due to playing time. He was also very close with the Mitchell twins, and I think that whole scenario kind of soured Ricky Lindo Jr. with Maryland, so, I feel like no matter what, he was going to move on anyway. And, he's doing really well with George Washington, however. Trace Ramsey transferred to San Diego, UC San Diego. He was a guy that he just wasn't going to fit into Maryland's scheme. He could be a solid bench player on another team. So, that's just what it is. Just there's nobody really to blame for that. It just wasn't a good fit. James Graham III, obviously he put his name in the portal yesterday. Playing time was another thing. So do you sense a theme here? Before we move on, do you sense a theme? Most of the players have transferred from Maryland either explicitly because of playing time, or they transferred after not playing a lot, so you kind of think, okay, what else could it be? And when, in years prior, I chose from 2016 to 17, I chose because that was when we started hearing a lot about Maryland's team and how there's no depth, right? We heard, we don't have very much depth. We're a thin team. This, that, and the other thing. We got to play. Guys got to play a lot of minutes. Well, no. Because, think of it this way. If you have a lot of guys that are transferring from your program because they don't play enough, how can you say that you don't have a lot of depth, right? The two just don't add up. If guys are leaving because they don't play enough, and then you say you don't have depth, well, no, you have the guys. They just never played. And so they didn't play, so now they're moving on. And, this isn't just a Maryland thing. I'm sure that, this is other teams as well. And these are 12 guys that have now transferred from the program in the past 5 years. And I'm sure that other schools in the country have the same number of guys or whatever, if not more. But to have 9 out of 12 guys have the same reason for leaving, there's something bigger going on. There's something, behind the scenes, a bigger picture. There's something else going on. And I don't know what's going on, but there's some kind of disconnect between players, coaches. I don't know what's going on. Now, we're going to compare that now to the list of players that have transferred to Maryland since 2016, since the 2016-17 season, and how they've done. LG Gills transferred from Duquesne to Maryland, and he did all right. Wasn't horrible, wasn't great. He's in the G League of the NBA, so I guess he improved, and all right, fair enough. Sean Obi transferred from Duke. He was a grad transfer. I felt like he wasn't utilized enough. I feel like he had some skill, and he didn't really play all that much. And he wasn't utilized to his full capability. Jairus Hamilton, I mentioned him. He transferred from Boston College, and he was a guy that he could heat up. He was a streaky shooter. If he made a few, he could heat up and make have a good night. And however, he left a year later. Don't really know what happened. He just kind of said, "All right, see ya." It was really quiet. I don't know what happened. Galen Smith transferred from Alabama. For me, at least, he was pretty underwhelming. Fats Russell transferred from Rhode Island to Maryland this year. He's got elite speed, but he needs to cut down on the three-point shots that he takes. He's not a three-point shooter. It's never been in his DNA. So that's it. Qudus Wahab transferred from Georgetown. He brings the ball down too much. He's shown flashes of being really good. He had a good game against Virginia Tech on Wednesday. Hopefully he can, continue to get better. Xavier Green transferred from Old Dominion. He's really more of a defensive specialist, and I've been fine with what he's given us this year. I can't complain too much. It's not like he came in and was like, oh, he shoots the ball really well, and then he doesn't shoot the ball really well, and you're saying, well, what's going on? It came in and said, look, he's really just a defensive specialist, and that's what he's given us, so I can't complain. Simon Wright transferred from Elon. I don't want to be rude, but he's not, he's nothing like elite. But you could probably argue that he should get some more minutes. Pavlo Zuba, I probably butchered his name. I apologize. Transferred from Arizona State to Maryland. Where's he been? Where I think I've seen him in 2 games. There was a lot of excitement about him coming, and I've seen him once or twice this year. Ian Martinez transferred from Utah to Maryland. He's been, for my taste at least, he's been underwhelming. He's had, I think, 1 or 2 good games, but I haven't been super pleased with what he's given us. And these are just kind of predictions. So those are 10 guys that have transferred to the program since 2016-17. There are two players that I could see transferring from Maryland after the season. Marcus Dockery. He's played like 5 games in the 2 to 3 seasons he's been at Maryland. He seems to have a good head on his shoulders. He seems to have a really, good attitude. He seems to have a good skill and pregame shoot around. And that's really all I can tell you on, because he doesn't play very much. So I don't know. And again, with all those guys that have left in the past 5 years due to playing time, I could see him hitting the door as well. A second guy, and he's a guy that's, he's like a sophomore. And I don't even know the year that anybody is anymore due to the COVID rule and the transfer and the red shirt, and I don't even know where anybody's at anymore. The second guy I could see transferring after this year is Ike Cornish, and it seemed like a big signing. There was a lot of hype about him. There was a lot of, we really need this guy. We want him to come to Maryland, and there was a lot of excitement around him, and yet I don't even know what he looks like. I haven't seen him play this year. I truly, and I'm a big Maryland fan. You guys, people know this, and I go to a Maryland game and I couldn't point out what Ike Cornish is. I couldn't point him out. I don't know. Guy, he never plays. I think he's played 1 game against Quinnipiac, and that was on Big Ten Plus, which I don't get, so I had to listen to it on the radio. So, it just another guy that I could see hitting the door, because when guys don't play and they've had a lot of hype about them coming, and they don't play. I mean, it's like, okay, well, if I can go somewhere else and play more, why not, right? So I don't know. And listen to this, another thing. A lot of assistant coaches have left in the recent years from Maryland. And this list is only like assistant coaches. Like, there's other assistants that were like, the video coordinator or basketball operations. I'm not counting that, because when those guys have left and gone to another school because they are actually getting a promotion, they're moving from video operator or basketball operations to assistant coach. This is guys that are leaving from assistant coach to assistant coach, or I think there's one of these guys that went from assistant coach to head coach. And there's one of these guys that just left and didn't go anywhere. Bino Ranson, he left Maryland. He's an assistant at DePaul. DeAndre Haynes, not too sure where he went. Cliff Warren, he went to UMass. I believe he might even be at Georgia Southern right now. I don't know. There was a few moves there. Dustin Clark just kind of retired. And Kevin Brodus went, and I think he's now the head coach at Morgan State. When you lose 5 assistant coaches over the span of 5 or 6 years, that's kind of concerning. And as I said, I kind of touched on this previously. I feel like there's just a little bit of a disconnect between the coaches and players over the past 5 years or so. We've got a lot of guys going, and some guys coming back. It's really weird. Also, and I just thought of this. There's a lot of guys that have left for the NBA draft, and they go to the NBA and they have really good years. Kevin Huerter is like one of the better players on the Hawks right now, and he was really good at Maryland. But it felt like his skill was never fully utilized. Bruno Fernando was, he was really good at Maryland, and then in the NBA, he was, I don't know, the NBA is tough, right? And as a big guy, you really got to bulk up and just be, you really have to be really good as a big guy in order to get playing time, and so he hasn't really done that. But, Jake Layman went, and he's really found himself a really solid career in the NBA, and, there's just a lot of and LG Gill even wasn't like amazing at Maryland, and now he's in the G League. It's something odd, and I've never questioned the head coach at Maryland, Mark Turgeon. There's a very personal story where I've really come to respect him and liked him because of that, and I don't know if I've told it before, but I don't have time to tell it now, but. So I have a lot of respect for Mark Turgeon, and I've never questioned him before, but this season, losing 3 of the last 5 games, seems like they're not making a lot of adjustments. The team is slumping. When they started the season as a top 25 team, I'm looking over the past 5 years, a lot of players have left the team, have transferred from the team. Some guys have come in, they haven't really played a lot, they haven't been utilized to their full capability. We've had a lot of assistant coaches leave. I'm starting to kind of question things a little bit, and it really hurts me to say that. But for the first time under the Turgeon era, I'm starting to question things. And again, that really pains me to say it, but I don't know. There comes a point where you have to open your eyes to things, whether you like the guy or not. And I don't know. As I said last segment, I hope they figure things out, but there's a lot of commonalities right now with Maryland, and this is just another one of them. So, I hope things get turned around, and I don't really know what else to say other than that. It's just a lot of things have been a lot of things have happened that are the same over the few years, if you know what I mean. But I'm starting to wonder, and I know a lot of people have over the past 3 years have said, "What have you been watching? What are you believing in?" Right? And I think people get anxious after a couple of losses and they start questioning things, and I've never done that, right? I say it's a tough loss, whatever, move on to the next one, but this is a very common theme, so as I said, it hurts me to say, but I'm beginning to question things.